Coming up on today's show, the Falcons made 2 roster moves I want to share with you all. And then day 1 of rookie minicamp is in the books. So we're going to go through the highlights from day 1. I'll share with you guys what I saw and some players to keep an eye on throughout the weekend. But I got a semi-passive aggressive message this morning from my boss saying, I noticed the last 3 Falcons videos have less than 200 likes. So tell my boss to F off a little bit and hit the thumbs up button down below. Let's start off with the roster moves made by the Atlanta Falcons. They signed-ish. I'll explain why there's an ish behind it. Defensive end Kenny Oginni, and then they released an offensive tackle who was signed to a future/reserves contract earlier this year. But let's get to know the newest member of the Atlanta Falcons. It is Kenny Oginni. He is the Falcons' designated international pathway player. So every single year in the NFL, 2 different divisions get selected to have a international pathway player assigned to their roster. The player does not count towards a roster spot whatsoever, whether it's the 90-man roster or even the practice squad once the season gets underway. But I think he would count towards the 53-man roster. I never got that far because that's never really happened. He's originally from Nigeria. He's got some NFL experience. One Falcons legend, I guess we can call it, 2 years. Osi Umenyiora had a camp in his home country of Nigeria trying to grow the game of football there. And that's where Oginni was introduced to the sport. But he also had a brief stint with the Chiefs during their OTAs, training camp, mini camp process in 2022. So it's not the first time he's put pads on for an NFL team. But he does join the Falcons defensive line that's really crowded. Like, it may not have a ton of, household, notable, big, expensive free agent or first-round draft pick names to it, but, I mean, we've seen additions or, like, Rukaroro and Zion Logue and Brandon Dorlus, and then Eddie Goldman coming out of retirement, James Smith-Williams in free agency, Contavious Street resigns. Like, there has been a lot of movement for the Falcons defensive line in the depth and in the trenches. As for the offensive line, after moving on from Ryan Swoboda, I think I got that right, but probably the last time I ever have to say his name, you can see that the offensive line, it's a little skinnier than I would like, not actual like poundage-wise, but depth-wise, especially at the tackle positions. Like Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry both showed that they, are human beings, and they did miss a little bit of time last year, whether it's a game or just a quarter, a half. And Storm Norton and Tyler Vrabel, I think they filled in admirably, but I still think offensive tackle is a cornerstone piece, and it's a good spot where you can never have enough depth at. So next up on the show, we're going to run through the rookies to watch for this weekend. I want to give you guys a bit of a primer as to what the next few weeks will look like for the Atlanta Falcons, because rookie minicamp is underway today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The NFL schedule release comes out next Wednesday, May 15th. I'm going to shoot my shot right now and say Falcons week 1 against the Saints. How about that? OTAs, organized team activities, voluntary, May 20th to the 22nd, 28th to the 30th, then June 3rd to the 6th, followed by mandatory minicamp June 10th through the 12th. So some very important days here for the youngins, more so than the veterans. Like for the rookies, this set of days right here, these sets of days right here, this set of days right here, and then into training camp is going to be major playbook install, right? The coaching staff is going to throw a ton at these rookies to see how much can they absorb, and are they going to sink or swim before the pads even come on. But here are the Falcons rookies this year via the NFL draft and UDFAs. Of course, you've got, big ticketed names like Michael Penix Jr., second-round pick defensive tackle Ruke Orororo, and then Bralen Trice, Brandon Dorlus, JT Bertrand, Jace McClellan, Casey Washington, and Zion Logue round out the rest of the draft class. As for the UDFAs, because you're going to need enough bodies to help drills get through, here are some of the UDFAs the Falcons brought in. They have 2 quarterbacks right now, Illinois quarterback John Paddock and then Michael Penix, of course. Wide receiver Isaiah Wooden has got to keep an eye on if you're looking to sound smart in front of your friends of, who could be a guy that makes the rosters of UDFA? I would say Isaiah Wooden Sr. from Southern Utah, and then North Dakota's Jaden Price is another guy to keep an eye on. But here are 5 players that I'm going to keep a close eye on throughout rookie minicamp. First up, it's Bralen Trice. Now, full disclosure, during rookie minicamp, the pads aren't on. There's no contact drills. So it's not the best way to evaluate defensive linemen who they don't catch a football like a wide receiver, which you can evaluate without pads on. They need violence and contact to get a good picture at. But I still want to watch Bralen Trice because he joins a Falcons pass rush and front 5 that did not see a major addition in free agency, did not see an addition through the first 2 rounds of the draft. And so Bralen Trice, the 3rd-round pick out of Washington, is Atlanta's kind of de facto first-round pick, right? This was their biggest addition to their pass rushing unit. So last year for the Huskies, 6'3", 245 pounds, 4.7, 240-yard dash. So solid speed, but he's more known for his strength. Like that's where he dominated at Washington. His ability to just be a bully with offensive tackles and drive them back. And that is reflected by him leading the FBS in pressures for the last 2 years with 148 total and then 18 career sacks at Washington. Last year, though, specifically, 11.5 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. So the Falcons in round 3, they went with a pass rusher that isn't some really young, athletically gifted guy that needs some time to develop. No, at that point in the draft, they took the guy with the best overall production at that spot because they're going to need Bralen Trice to contribute. Like this was their round 1 Dallas Turner pick. When it comes to making a draft investment to the edge rusher position, they didn't do it in round 1. I wouldn't call Rook a pass rushing addition. Like he's an interior defensive lineman. Maybe he gives you 2, max like 3 sacks, but that would be a big surprise to me. So there are, high expectations for Bralen Trice because he is the cavalry. Like he is the reinforcements for this team. So I'm excited to see what he can do throughout the summer. Now, hopefully he can make some splashes because the Falcons' rookie sack record is a very attainable one for Bralen Trice. 7 sacks done by Mike Pitts back in 1983. Tack McKinley, off the top of my head, I think he had, someone fact check me, 6 sacks in 2017. I don't think he definitely gets 7, and I feel like he's at 6. And producer Colin Brown is fact checking me live right now, so we're gonna find out if I'm right or wrong. 6 sacks, let's go. I was like, I don't think it was like 5 or 4. I thought he had a pretty good rookie year. So let me toss this your way. Over or under 3.5 sacks for Bralen Trice in 2024. Zach Harrison, 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State last year, had 3 sacks as a rookie. So I felt like 3.5 would be a pretty appropriate number for another 3rd-round edge rusher pick. So let me know down below in the comment section. Second guy to watch for, I couldn't go much longer without talking about Michael Penix. I mean, when you're the 8th overall pick in the draft, of course people are going to be watching you, right? And what I'm most excited for about Michael Penix throughout the next few weeks is, sure, there'll be some really cool highlights that come out of him, uncorking the deep ball with precision accuracy and high velocity, and that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. But I'm a little bit more excited for this team and this fan base to kind of get to know Michael Penix, the person, a little bit better. I mean, in the pre-draft process, the Falcons flew out to Seattle, watched him throw, got back on the plane, and flew right back to Atlanta. There was no dinner. There was no meet and greet. They didn't bring Michael Penix down to Atlanta for a pre-draft visit. They didn't really get to know Penix as a person outside of some meetings at like the Combine and maybe the Senior Bowl. But those are pretty short, like 15, 20-minute meetings, not like a sleepover where they come in for a pre-draft visit or you go to Seattle. So I think the coaching staff is much more excited to get to know Penix a little bit as a person because up until this point, it's been a lot of word of mouth, right? But not their own hands-on discovery. So that's what I'm most excited for when it comes to Penix over the next few weeks is getting to know what's going to be the Falcons' future franchise quarterback if everything goes well for 10, 15 years plus, fingers crossed, as a human being. Third guy I'm watching for is defensive end Brandon Dorlus. So the Oregon Duck, who was a 4th-round pick for the Falcons. He joins, like I mentioned earlier, a very crowded defensive line, and he's a part of that crowd. And I know the Falcons did not make a marquee addition here, but they definitely went for quantity over quality, right? Do I have to re-say everyone's names? Rook, Dorlus, Zion Lowe, Contavious Street, James Smith-Williams, Eddie Goldman. Like, they are looking to get a lot of bodies here because they may not have, outside of like Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata, a clear-cut like dog when it comes to getting after the quarterback, but they're going to throw a lot of bodies at the offensive line. They're going to keep guys fresh, and they're going to make sure that this defensive line is hydrated and is ready to go all 4 quarters, all 17 games long. So Dorlus will be a part of that rotation, and that's what I'm excited to see for out of him. Same goes for Dorlus as it did for Bralen Trice. Unfortunately, you're not going to watch any sacks this weekend. Like, there's no pads, there's no contact really. So you're not going to see any cool highlights coming out of that department, but we're still going to get to know what's going to be, I think, a key piece of this defense because the Falcons are going to toss them into the fire. Similar to Trice, Dorlus is not some 20-year-old awesome athlete that really needs to develop. No, he played a lot of football at Oregon. I mean, he was a 2-time first-team All-Pac-12 player and then a 1-time second-team All-Pac-12 player, 3-year starter. Generated a ton of pressures from the interior defensive line. Now, at Oregon, I think he was able to get away with being a 283-pound interior defensive lineman. When it gets to the NFL, maybe they can move him around a little bit, but in a 3-4 defense, he's not a nose tackle. Like, that's David Onyemata. Maybe he's a little bit like a 3 technique-ish, similar to Grady Jarrett, but I think he's more of a 5 technique in a 3-4 defense. So I think this is also your Calais Campbell replacement. I mean, Zach Harrison is really the Calais Campbell replacement because I think he takes his spot in the depth chart as the number 1 starting defensive end. But when it comes to adding another guy to that rotation, who takes Zach Harrison's spot, I think it is Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon. Now, before we look at the other players I want you to keep an eye on this weekend, if you want to get your hands on a Michael Penix jersey because the numbers were announced for the rookie class, go to chatsports.com/Penix. I've already put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So up your Falcons wardrobe, support the channel in the process. It's a really great way to help us, keep the lights on and get more studio space. So if you're looking for a new Falcons jersey, why not do it at chatsports.com/Penix? It comes right from Fanatics. Next 2 guys, I want to lump together a pair of wide receivers. We've got the day 3 pick out of Illinois, Casey Washington. And then how about a UDFA, Isaiah Wooden Sr.? Let's start with Casey Washington. Last year at Illinois, his best year by far for the Fighting Illini, 670 grabs, 4 touchdowns. Production not overwhelming. I think this is more of a physical attributes pick. And it's also a reflection of when it gets to day 3 of the draft, you're not going to find a bunch of studs. No offense, Casey. 6 foot, 201 pounds, 4.46 40-yard dash. Really solid athlete. Like, that was kind of my takeaway when watching him is, sure, he's got good hands, but I think the athleticism is what's got him this far in his football career, more so than being like a tactician or a precision route runner or an incredible ability to moss defenders. But he does struggle when it comes to separating against defenders, and that's where NFL coaching is going to be key. Like, can they teach him, hey, when you get ready to begin your route, depending on how the defense lines up, where the corner is, where the safety is, how do you adjust your route on the fly to that? Also, it just kind of hit me, he's going to be with his former quarterback, John Paddock. Has that ever happened? No, it's definitely happened. That's a dumb question. There's definitely been a rookie quarterback and wide receiver combo to go from college to the NFL together. I would love to know what the most recent example was. All right, thinking on the fly here. Isaiah Wooden Sr., the next guy up here, from Southern Utah, started his collegiate career off at Kent State. Then he transfers down to Southwest Utah. I think it's in St. George, if memory serves correct, or Cedar something. But 765 yards, 12 touchdowns. I feel like you're just talking to some guy who's like learning he has Alzheimer's right now, forgetting everything. 5'7", 176 pounds, 4.35 40-yard dash. So not the biggest dude in the world, let's just be honest. But he's a vertical threat who can take the top off a defense with a 4.35 speed. He is not going to be a contested ball catcher in the NFL. He's probably not going to have an extensive route tree that can pick up hard yards on 3rd and 5 and be physical with DBs and whatnot. But if you can get one grab for 35 yards out of him to set you up in field goal range, like as a UDFA, that'd be an incredible achievement. So 17 career touchdowns. He does have a knack for finding the end zone. But which rookie are you most excited to see? Is it Michael Penix? Is it one of the defensive linemen, just given the need for the Falcons to try and find some pass rushers? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'm sure by now, like 5 people probably already commented notable college wide receiver and rookie tandems to go to the NFL together. Do you have one?
Well, it's not together, but Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase came from the
Oh,
same school.
that's a good one. But no. I like the together part.
Yeah,
because to be at rookie minicamp together, we're like, dude, we were just together last week in Baton Rouge.
The Colts drafted because they drafted Andrew Luck and then they drafted his tight end. I'm blanking.
Oh, his Stanford tight end.
Yeah, I think it was Kobe Fleener.
Oh, that sounds like a Colts tight end. Kobe Fleener was definitely. I didn't know he went to Stanford. We are doing some awesome on the fly NFL trivia right now. So I'm curious to see which combinations you guys come up with. Kobe Fleener, did he come over?
Let's see.
This would be a bit of an asterisk one. We're looking for wide receiver.
Yep, he was the second round of the 2012 draft. Boom.
They went Stanford back to back.
They went let me see. They went,
right.
But they were both 2012. So yeah. Luck was there. So then there you go.
Oh, that's pretty sick. Good for them. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys throughout the week as well.